Okay, so we're diving into Ezra today.
All right.
You guys really seem to love this book.
Yeah, it's fascinating.
Yeah, and I think it's because it's got all this like historical stuff and like the rebuilding and
It's a pivotal point
yeah,
in the history of the Jewish faith.
absolutely. So much going on. And we
Yeah.
could talk for hours.
Oh yeah, days even.
Yeah. But you want like the Spark Notes version,
A
right?
10-minute Ezra?
10 minutes or less. Yeah, that's the challenge.
Okay.
All right. So maybe let's just start with like the who, what, when, where, why of Ezra, right?
Okay, so Ezra, he was a priest
Okay.
and a scribe,
Hmm.
and he lived in the 5th century BCE.
5th century BCE. Okay.
So
So,
that's about 70 years.
wow, 70 years.
After the first group of Jewish exiles returned to Jerusalem from Babylon.
Okay, so this is after that whole exile thing. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So, they'd been in captivity for generations,
Right.
and they were finally allowed to go back.
Okay, so they're coming back.
Yeah, they're going back to Jerusalem.
To Jerusalem.
Yeah, their ancestral land.
It's like a homecoming.
Yeah, but a really, really tough homecoming.
Okay. Why tough?
Well, they had to rebuild everything.
Everything.
I mean, not just the temple.
Oh, right.
Their whole way of life.
I mean, yeah, that must have been like
Daunting.
daunting isn't even the word. Like, how do you even begin to do that?
Well, it's interesting because, they show up and Jerusalem's in ruins.
Oh, yeah?
It's just rubble.
Right.
The temple's destroyed.
Right, the center of their faith.
Exactly.
Gone.
Wow. And not everybody's happy to see them back.
Oh, really?
Oh, no.
Why?
Well, they've been gone for a long time.
Right.
Things have changed.
Yeah.
Power dynamics are different.
Oh, so they're seen as like a threat almost.
Yeah. In some ways, yeah.
Wow.
So,
Oh, tough.
yeah, it's really tough. And you have to think about the emotional weight, too,
Oh, yeah.
of trying to revive traditions that had almost been lost during the exile.
Right.
Like, they're trying to piece together their identity from memory and scraps of what they remember.
Wow. So like practically and spiritually, this is just a huge...
A huge undertaking.
Okay, so we're talking about rebuilding.
Yes.
What role does Ezra play in all this?
Okay, so the book of Ezra is actually divided into two main sections.
Okay, 2 parts.
Yeah, chapters 1 through 6 focus on the rebuilding of the temple.
All right, so that's part 1.
Yeah, and then chapters 7 through 10 shift to Ezra's arrival in Jerusalem and his reforms.
Okay, so the book is basically like rebuilding, and then Ezra shows up.
Right.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
All right, so let's talk about rebuilding. Like,
Yeah.
what are the major obstacles?
Well, I mean, they're starting from scratch.
Literally from scratch.
Yeah, gathering resources, organizing labor,
Right.
dealing with the Persian Empire, which now rules over Judah.
So it's not just like a local thing. They've got this big...
Oh, no, it's very political.
Oh, wow.
Very political, yeah.
Okay.
And then you've got the human element.
Oh, yeah, right.
The people are exhausted, they're weary.
It's hard to keep going when you're like surrounded by rubble,
Yeah,
right?
exactly. And that's where the prophets come in.
Okay, the prophet.
Like Haggai and Zechariah,
Yeah.
they deliver these messages of hope.
So they're like cheerleaders.
Yeah, you could say that.
Okay.
They're reminding the people that this is about more than just bricks and mortar.
Right.
This is about reestablishing their covenant with God,
Okay.
reclaiming their identity.
It's like a spiritual rebuilding.
Exactly.
Okay, so they've got these challenges, but you said that not everyone was happy to see them back.
Right.
Like, why were the neighbors so against them rebuilding?
Well, some of them saw the returning exiles as a threat.
A threat? How?
Well, they were worried about a resurgence of Jewish power in the region.
Okay, so it's like a power struggle.
Yeah, you could say that.
Right.
And they didn't want anything to upset the balance,
Okay.
so they tried to sabotage the rebuilding efforts.
How do they sabotage?
Well, spreading rumors, making accusations.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Even intimidation and violence.
Wow. So it wasn't just like, oh, we disagree.
No.
It got ugly sometimes.
Okay, so there's this whole political thing going on.
Oh, yeah.
All right, so the temple is finally rebuilt.
Yes.
Phew, what a process.
Long process.
But then Ezra shows up.
Yeah.
What's his deal? What's he all about?
So Ezra was really concerned about what he saw as a dilution of Jewish identity.
Dilution, okay.
Yeah, he was particularly worried about intermarriage
Okay, so marriage between...
between Jews and people from surrounding nations.
Okay, so he's not a fan of that.
No, he sees it as a threat
It's a threat to...
to their covenant with God.
Okay, so for him, this is like a really big deal.
Huge deal.
Okay.
Because remember, for Ezra, maintaining a distinct identity,
Mm-hmm.
that's what preserves their relationship with God,
Okay.
their special place in the world.
Okay, so it's not just about like who you marry, it's about...
It's about their faith.
Hmm.
their whole way of life.
Oh,
It's about who they are as a people.
all right, so Ezra's coming in, he's seeing all this. He's like, we got to make some changes. Yeah, he wants to strengthen their commitment to the Torah,
Okay, the Torah being.
the Jewish law.
Okay.
So he's like, okay, we got to discourage intermarriage.
Okay.
We got to be stricter about the Sabbath.
Right.
We got to really live our faith,
Okay.
really live it.
So how did people take that?
Well, imagine trying to change social and religious norms that have been ingrained for years.
Right. It's not easy to change,
Not at all.
especially when it comes to like beliefs and practices.
Exactly.
Okay.
So some people loved it.
Okay.
They thought it was essential for preserving their identity.
Right. They're with Ezra.
Totally.
Okay.
But others felt it was too strict,
Okay.
even divisive.
So there's some pushback.
Yeah, there's definitely pushback.
Wow. So Ezra is a controversial figure.
Oh, yeah.
Interesting.
He really shakes things up.
Okay. So if we're thinking about like what we can learn from Ezra and his story,
Mm-hmm.
what would you say are the biggest takeaways?
Well, I think it's crucial to understand Ezra's role as a leader.
Mm-hmm.
He really helped shape the future of Judaism.
At a like really critical time.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think his story also reminds us that rebuilding and renewal
Rebuilding not just physically, but like we talked about.
spiritually, yeah,
It's hard work.
it takes resilience and determination.
Mhm.
It's not for the faint of heart.
And I think something that really stood out to me was this idea of like identity.
Oh, yeah.
Like how do we navigate a world of diverse influences
Mm-hmm.
while still maintaining our own sense of self and belonging?
It's a question we're still grappling with today.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So Ezra's story is like ancient history, but it's still relevant.
Oh, yeah. It speaks to us across the centuries.
Wow. Well, this has been so insightful.
Glad you enjoyed it.
I feel like I could talk about Ezra all day, but
There's always more to explore.
yeah, but
Okay.
we've got to leave it there for today.
Right.
But hopefully this deep dive has given everyone a good starting point
Yeah, foundation.
to like keep exploring.
Yeah. And to appreciate Ezra's lasting legacy.
That's a great way to put it, his lasting legacy.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us, everyone. We'll see you next time.
See you later.